Hey folks, welcome to Fiddlehead Fiddle Lessons. Great to have you here. Today, we're going to learn how to improve any song that you've recently learned. We'll be using Fire on the Mountain as an example. Now, when I say song, I really mean any musical piece. It could be a classical concerto, it could be a fiddle tune, it could be a pop song, okay? So when you first learn the song, it's in the can do with effort phase. It means you kind of are stumbling through it, but you get the gist of it. You know roughly where to put your fingers, but it's not really satisfying to you or to a listener. What we do next is really try to make it sound more like music, and we move it into the can do with flow phase, okay? And so that's when it becomes really more satisfying to play it, which is a great thing because then you'll be more motivated to continue playing if it feels good. That's the main reason why people do music. And then it'll also sound better to people if it's feeling good to you. So we're gonna use this plan, do, reflect process. It's also known as deliberate practice, which is gonna be intentional with picking out hard spots from the tune and improving them. So you may be wondering, well, what do I work on here? I don't know what to work on. So a good first step, a good question to ask is look at the 4 T's: tone, tuning, timing, and transitions. You can also focus on other aspects of the song like slurring, playing more than one note in a bow, or string crossing, or vibrato if you're doing a classical piece. Fire in the Mountain is a classical piece. Anyway, so let's say that on Fire on the Mountain, we've decided on a few parts that we want to hit up. And the first part is we really want to improve the timing. And we're going to look at the first bar, the beginning of the song, to improve our timing. And then if that goes well, maybe we'll move on to some other spots, okay? So we're going to really zero in on this first spot now. And the goal is to, when we sit down to practice, we want to get it a little bit better, just a little bit better. And that will compound over time to a whole lot better, okay? So don't try to set the world on fire with, just having it go from 0 to 100%. We'll just kind of try to incrementally improve this. So the first step is to play it, just a basic version of that first chunk. And then notice how maybe you stumble in a certain spot. So a lot of people, when they first are learning, going from open E to A3 is a stumble point. So maybe we do a smaller chunk. And maybe we even have to go more granular into just open E to A3. We loop that. Play it in different ways, maybe with more flow. Maybe we add a metronome. That's 60 beats per minute. And then maybe do a larger piece, working our way back to the whole song. And then the whole first bar. So again, I'm playing at 60 beats per minute, and a lot of you, when you play with the metronome at this speed, it may feel like, oh, it's dragging so slow. And that's really an interesting thing to note. And that's because you're used to just speeding up when you get something kind of good, instead of just really working on your timing, really getting it to be rock solid. And so do like simple fiddle tunes like this with just all eighth notes. They may seem easy, but it's a great opportunity to really improve your timing if you use a metronome. And a lot of you may have tried a metronome and find it to be really boring, but I invite you to kind of get into it and see it as almost a meditation where you're syncing up And there's this really good feeling that happens when you start to really feel the sync, but you'll at first feel some resistance to it. Okay, so let's say you work on that section a little bit and you're like, yeah, my timing's better. I've improved my skill of timing, but I've also improved this section. I'm ready to move on. Or maybe you're like, it just still is not quite what I want it to be, but perhaps I'll come back to it later today or tomorrow or something. So there's something to be said for letting something incubate for a little bit. So let's do that. Let's pretend like I got it a little bit better. I still want to work more, but I'm going to move on. So the next thing I want to do maybe is work on my tuning a little bit on the second bar. So the second bar is... So how do you work on your tuning? Well, I teach this method called drone tuning, in which you use a reference tone called a drone. So let's say I'm having trouble going from E1, which is F sharp, to E3, which is A. Okay, try to tune up that A using a reference tone, an A drone. So on the Fiddlehead course, we have drones for all 12 keys and beats and different combinations. So I really try to, maybe I need to adjust my tuning a little bit. I get it right. And now I try to play some surrounding notes around that note to improve the tuning, like getting there and getting out of that note, like E1 to 3. And maybe I play a 4-note chunk no. Enjoy the sound when it kind of starts to come in tune. Okay, cool. And so you work on that for a little bit, and then you pause and you reflect, is that a little bit better? Maybe take a note in a practice journal and you're ready to move on. And so we do this plan, do, reflect process over and over again. And I'll quickly do a few other spots. But one idea that is just an option, that if you have limited time, you could set a timer for 5 minutes for each of these chunks. So some of you may find that that's a good way to kind of constrain you. Sometimes these constraints are really helpful and they kind of get you to do a lot in a short amount of time. And so this is a really good idea too. If you are somebody who has limited time with your practice, you can be very, very efficient. If you use this process, use a timer, I'm basically giving you a 25-minute routine. You pick 4 spots, you work on each spot for 5 minutes, and then you spend 5 minutes just kind of playing a bigger section. Okay, so let's do the process. I'll do it more rapidly now for another spot. Let's work on transitions between bars 1 and 2. So the first 2 bars are... So maybe you're having trouble with that. You can just slowly play both those bars. And maybe even play a smaller section that covers that transition, like... And then once I get it, I like to do kind of like, without a metronome, just like quick little speed ups. It's like I'm getting in a bunch of repetitions without, in a shorter amount of time. So now let's see if my transition is better. And maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but we And then a more next level practice with that is to visualize it. Can you hear that music in your head? So for fiddle music, for the violin, I can actually hear that pretty clearly in my head. I've been playing a while, but if you struggle with that, then just hum it. Humming it is, to me, bringing it more internal than almost singing. It's like you're kind of in between singing and just hearing it in your head. And then always alternate with actually playing. Okay, so cool. We've worked on 4 spots from this tune, and now we're ready to kind of close out our session. I'm gonna just play the whole A part and then notice if anything's better, anything's worse. So let's say I've played the whole thing and maybe you have some idea what improved, maybe not, but at least ask the question. At least say like, can I tell if anything's better? And if it's not, don't make it a big deal out of it. Just be like, okay, it could be improved. I'm gonna move on, all right? And so then, and a lot at this stage of the reflection too, you wanna just ask yourself, am I done with this song for now? Have I improved it as much as I can for this point in time? Because maybe you're a beginner and there's only so far you can get with it right now. It's not going to be Mark O'Connor quite yet. So, but when you learn other things, other tunes and skills, then you'll slowly be able to like improve these basic tunes as well. So you come back to Fire on the Mountain, you'd be like, wow, I can play this so much better. So all that's to say that don't just keep banging your head against the wall on one tune forever trying to make it perfect. Get it so you improve it a significant amount for you and then move on, okay? So, well, that's it. That's the Improve a New Song process. And I'll have a link back to the Fiddlehead course for you to check this out. And I'm also gonna make tons of like short videos to explain this, but I wanted to make one kind of longer form video to really go deeper on the process of how you can improve a song. So if this is helpful, send me an email, send me a video of yourself doing this. That would make my day if you did that. And great to see you and play with you. I'm just looking at an iPhone, but when I teach these lessons, I'm imagining people. You know, I do a lot of Zoom lessons and stuff, and so I'm just that's how I am able to do it. I just use my imagination, like SpongeBob SquarePants says. Okay, good to see you guys. Take care. Keep on fiddling. Yes! Go to fiddlehead.com for a progressive, step-by-step course outline, color-coded tabs, play-along tracks, sheet music, and much more. Thanks for watching the video. Excellent! And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.